Hi everybody, I'm Vanna. And today I want to talk to you a little bit about my experience with hospice with my dad. Of course, it's not a pleasant experience, but I learned a lot, and I hope, this will help you if you don't know anything about hospice, and some of you may have experienced it or went through, this with loved ones or friends. But a little history on Dad is he was a mill worker, and he worked third shift for 35 to 40 years in the mill, a textile mill. He was a fixer. He worked on the machines, and he did this, for all these years, and he really felt like, the mill was just going to end up killing him. So he got out of it around 57, and so he retired. But unfortunately, in his mind, he was thinking, oh, I worked all these years. I don't have to do anything else. I'm just going to, sit around. And that's, if that's what you want to do, I mean, that was his choice. But I think it really affected his health. And I really think he could have lived longer if he would have gotten a mindset of enjoying life, getting out in the fresh air, going outside and just walking around. I mean, he did do that for a little while because he had a pond and he'd walk down to the pond. And he did do yard work. He did some gardening in his earlier, right after leaving the mill. But as he got a little older, I'm not saying he was lazy, but he just did not want to do anything. And so he just sat around and would watch TV. And that was pretty much his life. It was kind of sad, And I would, keep an eye on him. And then he started falling, and that was a bad sign. And he was getting off balance. He couldn't get his balance because he wasn't using his legs, because your legs will die if you don't use them. And I would try to encourage him and try to, suggest things of, doing different things to keep him moving and going. And he did live a little ways from me, so I didn't get to see him every week like I wanted to. But eventually he got so bad he was falling and losing balance. I had to step in and I had to move him. And I moved him in with me for a few months until we got them settled into their own place. And I started, when it was with me, I was keeping him busy. And I would, he was on the walker then. He had kind of graduated from a walking stick outside, then he got a cane, and now he was on the walker. And so I would make him walk around the house, and I would take him out on the patio, and just trying to work with him more, and got PT involved with him, to try to keep him going. And then he's like, well, I don't like him telling me what to do, and so he wouldn't do the PT. So he's a little stubborn, and I just didn't know what to do with him. So we got him in their own place, and then I'm going now over there a good bit and trying to help him and do things. But again, as he was a strong man physically, but he had some illnesses, and he had Parkinson. He had fallen, hit his head, got a concussion, and the doctor said that had started his Parkinson. And then unfortunately dementia kind of started stepping in too later on. And so as he was declining, he stopped, he wouldn't do anything. All he did was sit in the house and watch TV. And eventually he, got into the wheelchair. He couldn't hardly walk anymore. It was just doing good to transfer him back and forth from the bed, to the wheelchair. And then he continued to decline from that. And then he got bedbound, and that really did him in. He felt like he was in prison. He still had that, well, I can still do these things, I can do that. I can get out of this bed. I don't know why you're keeping me in this bed. He didn't understand that he couldn't walk anymore. He couldn't use his legs anymore. His legs had died. And it was very sad, but, and then of course he just continued to decline. Well, I had brought hospice in, it was getting, where the wheelchair, and he couldn't go, the transfer, he couldn't. He was just getting where he couldn't hardly get in the wheelchair anymore. And of course, you can use a lift, but it was hard for my stepmom to use it. I could use it. It's a difficult time. And I know probably a lot of you may have experienced these with your loved ones, with parents. And it's a difficult journey. It's a difficult time in your life. And I didn't know a whole lot about hospice. I didn't understand, because I had not done a lot of research on that. I did do some research on companies, though, and I do encourage you to do that if you do have to ever get hospice for someone. Do your research. Ask around. Ask, what kind of service have you, anybody that's been in that company, or go and talk to them, ask them questions, and meet, the staff. And we did have one company, and this is, again, I learned something from hospice, that if they go to the hospital, you have to start all over, and they have to get everything going again, which I did not know that. And I had sent Dad to the ER because he had an incident. And so, again, I just didn't know. And so then, and again, that was that first company, and I guess they didn't really explain to me like things I should have known or made sure I understood them. And so I did change the company on the second round, and we got Dad back home. We got him settled in. We got the nurses set up. We got the nursing aide come in, and he really enjoyed, seeing. And he enjoyed the first one too, but he was enjoying these people coming in and helping him and seeing some new faces, and he really enjoyed that. And again, though, I believe he would have lived longer if he would have moved, if he would have kept going, if he hadn't got the mindset of, oh, I don't have to do anything anymore, I'm just going to sit here. But again, that was his choice, and I understand that. And so he made his choice. And but I encourage you, if you retire, I haven't retired yet, I've got a few more years, but you've got to keep moving. You've got to just walk, just stretch, just do anything. If you're bound in a wheelchair, you can move your arms, or and I know there's people that are disabled. I know there's people paralyzed and some illnesses and lots of pain. I understand all that. But if you can move, please move, and don't let these muscles die. And encourage your loved ones and parents to keep moving. But I know our parents can be very stubborn. And I'll tell you another thing I learned from this. It's, I have children, and it's really opened my eyes up to how I want to try to be. Everybody has their own personality, and yes, I am a little stubborn, and they know it, but I really want to make their life, a little easier, because again, they're going to be in the same position that I'm in. I mean, I was in with, and I still have my stepmom to take care of. But taking care of your parents, they're going to have that one day. They're going to have to step into those shoes one day. So experiencing this with my parents, it's really opened my eyes. And I want to try to make it a little easier for them. So I'm telling you, it comes down to the attitude you have. Dad was pretty good with me. He didn't give me a hard time. And my stepmom doesn't give me a hard time. She, I have to take her to doctor's appointments, and I'll say, hey, you got to do it on my schedule, because I work, and, and she's good about it. She's grateful. She's flexible. She doesn't give me a hard time. And so that does make a huge difference. So if you're, an older parent listening to this, you've got to make it easier on your kids. And I want to make it easier on my kids. And so this was a great experience for me. It was a sad journey to have to go through, but I know that my dad was taken care of to the very end, and we were able to say goodbye to him, and that made such a difference. Oh, it made such a difference. And so it did help going through the mourning for him. And of course, you still miss him, and I loved him to pieces, but I know, and I really feel in my heart he would have lived longer, but again, I have to accept that. And so I hope this helps you. Hospice is a good thing if it's needed. Hospice is not necessarily a death sentence. I also do caregiving too on the side, and I had taken care of a 100-year-old lady, wonderful, wonderful lady. She was such an inspiration to me, and I still miss her. She went on hospice when she was 98, and she continued but it was nice to have that. The nurse coming in and caregivers coming in, and I didn't work for hospice, but the nurse, the family had hired extra help for her, and so I was hired. But she was 98 when she went on hospice, and was still continuing to be on hospice for 2 years. So it's not a death sentence. It's just part of a caregiving, and to really. But if they are, more seriously with illness, and then they may not have much longer. It is a wonderful service, and it really makes a difference for the family, and giving that person a more pleasant time in their last days. So I hope this helps, and let's just continue this adventure together. Thank you for being here. It means so much to me, and I wish y'all all the best. And like and subscribe and comment if you have any questions, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.